Hello, welcome back to IT 145, Application Development in Java. I am your instructor, Matt Heuser. We're on week 3, so we had two big pieces this week. The first is the discussions on what is object-oriented programming, which is regular writing, very high-level abstract concepts. And the second big piece is your Zybooks training assignment, which is to run through all of the exercises and do some coding toward the end. And you could argue it's straightforward, and if it's easy to you, go do it. You don't need to watch this video. If you get stuck, or you think you might get stuck, particularly about how to manipulate strings, this video might help. So Java has basic data types that are actually on the chip, the way the computer thinks about things. Integers, which is whole numbers. Floats and doubles, which is a way to represent fractions and decimals. Characters, a letter. Now, what happens if you want to represent a word or a sentence or a paragraph? Well, you want to put a bunch of letters together. We used to do it in C with arrays, and that's what I have on the screen. So to some extent, Java supports native C coding. So this characters is an array. What that means is it's a structure that holds many of the item. In memory, you know how much space an array takes, how much space an integer takes. So you could have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of them all in the same memory block. Then you say, go to the second or third one, and you can actually go down to that element and predict it based on by taking the memory address you start up with and add the number of integers that you're going to go by times the length in memory of the integer. That'll give you the memory address that you could go to get what you want. All that is very chip level. Java really gets us above the chip level with the concept of a string and adds a bunch of functions to it. So what we used to do is we used to say, we're going to stick this word in and we're going to have a null terminator. And then when you copied from one to another, you would loop through until you hit the null terminator, and then you'd stop. You'd add the thing, and then you'd add a null terminator. Move the, if you have two strings you're adding together, you would go to where the null terminator was, add the characters, and then add another null terminator. Null terminator told you when to stop. And the problem was if you forgot, you'd cause a crash. Or if you went beyond the limits, this 1,000-character limit, you'd cause a crash. Arrays are also zero-based. So we're going to start with 0 and go through all of the ones that are less than 1,000. When we get to 999, that's the last one we're going to go into. It's more than a little bit confusing. Strings act like simple native data types with the plus operator and the equals operator overloaded. So you can just add them together and it does it all. So I could type in, for example, string 1 equals Matt. String 2 equals hello. And string 3 equals 1 plus a space plus 2, and we add it all together. Java gives all that to us in string, which in Java is a native data type. So you can do it anywhere. You don't have to include anything. You're going to have strings. Let's talk about what happens if you want to get to the second or third or fourth character inside of that string. Or you want to change them. So there's two different things which are actually in Zybooks. So you can go into Zybooks, you can go to figure 321, Actually, I'm going to include them in the announcement today in plain text, and you can copy them, change them, manipulate them. The big thing here that's interesting is we're going to have an input word, which we read from the screen. We're going to loop through the length of the input word, and then we're going to look at the character at the index. So it's the same thing as 0 to whatever, 0 to 1,000. But instead of having to hard code the length or remember the length or put a terminator at the end, we just go to we just ask it what's the length and loop through it. And this will count the number of letters and it'll print it out. So if we run this, shoot, I changed the code and introduced a defect. Where is it? I didn't capitalize string there, so it's not going to compile. And that is like, that's the life. So when you find yourself doing the work and running through the exercises and you get these errors, I make the same mistakes too. There we go. Enter a word, and the word is sample word thing. And it says it's 15 letters. Now, and of course, we've got this printout that I put at the bottom when I was working on this earlier. We don't need that anymore. Let's do it again. And what if the word is 23 and me? So and me, it's 5, 23. Those are not letters, so it should say 5. There we go. The important thing isn't the program. The important thing is the character at function, the length function, and how to write a for loop. That's going to be valuable for you. And there's a while loop in another, in 3242, and there's a while loop. It says, so while there is not, -1 is I can't find any, there isn't one. But while there's a double space, and the index of will return the location of it, as long as that isn't -1, because if it starts at the beginning, it's going to be index 0. -1 is I didn't find any. Then replace the double space with a single space. And when we run this, if we type in mat space hello quadruple space goodbye and run it, it'll chop those down to single spaces, all of them. So the quadruple won't go to 2, will go to just 1. And I think if you review this code, it's going to help you on the assignments. And if you have any questions, use general discussions or send me an email. It does not take that long for me to record one of these, and I'm happy to do one or write something up if you think the whole class would benefit from it. Thanks. I wanted to keep this one short. Hope you have a good weekend. And these assignments are due by Sunday night prior to midnight Eastern. I'll be talking to you. Thank you.